At Nissan's global headquarters in Yokohama, Japan. It's not just a big office complex, as you've probably seen elsewhere on Nismo TV. It's also a bit of a showroom, a bit of a museum of the special stuff that Nissan and Nismo have got to show. Let's go and have a look and see what they've got on display at the moment, because I happen to know that there's quite a lot of fun things to be seen as we walk around this area. Not just, well, places to have a meeting and a cup of coffee and a little breakout for the guys who work here, but also if they get a little bit bored, they can go on a PlayStation over there. But here we go. We have the full 2017 Nissan NISMO product lineup, starting, of course, with the Nissan March NISMO, Micra to those in Europe, but the Nissan March NISMO. Now, you might notice that this isn't the same specification or the same design as the new Micra in Europe. That's because that car isn't on sale in Japan. That's a European only at the moment car, the new model. But here we are, the March NISMO. And what you get to see is the full range of what Nismo offers in terms of production cars. And they all have a number of key elements as we walk along. You'll notice the red accents across the body of the car. The red wing mirrors are a major feature. We'll come back to that in a little while. And of course, the double-stepped front wing that all of these cars will have, and of course that famous NISMO badge, which is you need on your car. But moving on, this is a really important car for Nissan in Japan and worldwide, the Nissan Note. This, of course, is the Note NISMO, but it's not just another NISMO, you know, sensible mid-range hatchback. It's also a hybrid. It's one of the first performance hybrids come to market in Japan, and this thing is selling like, well, hot cakes. I'm not sure what Japanese hot cakes would be called, but this is what it's selling like. And you can see some of the real design features inside. Hopefully it's not going to be too dark on the camera to have a look, but as you can see, it's got the very dark dashboard, which is a very dark interior. That's very much a carryover from racing vehicles, which always have dark dashboards, dark interiors. But you'll also notice the little centre line, the 12 o'clock. I used to have a bit of tape on my Micra to tell me where that was. It was yellow tape, but it's red on these NISMO vehicles. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, big announcement of some description. The lady who works here is just announcing that there's going to be a talk or some happening here in the NISMO HQ. They have various functions for the public. Anyone can come and have a look at this and come and take part in the events at Nissan Global HQ. The NISMO HQ is just down the road, actually. But we have the full product lineup. And you'll see these ladies walking around, and they're the hostesses. They're here to just make sure that everybody has a good time, has all the information that they like. You can't actually buy a car here, as far as I'm aware. You have to go. You can buy a car here, I'm just being told. You can buy a car here if you really want to. The Juke NISMO here, NISMO RS specification, the Juke NISMO RS. This car is actually made in the UK at the fantastically efficient factory up in Sunderland, and it still has all of those great design features you'll see on all of the Nissan. That front bodywork detail, which is designed to enhance the aerodynamics across the range. They do a lot of aero studies on the NISMO range that they don't do on the production car so much, not just to enhance performance, but it also makes it look cool, if you ask me. And that's why you get these little red accents on them. But here you go. Now we're getting into the stuff that's really exciting. The NISMO Fair Lady Z. Not available in the UK, sadly, currently. But there is a subtle difference to this car that's been pointed out to me. You'll notice the red wing mirrors have gone away and they've been replaced with these black wing mirrors with the little red stripe on them. Not sure why they made that design decision, but I think it looks really cool. You'll notice the red seating on there, and that's one of the key factors. And you'll look at these great dash clocks on there. That's just all about performance. You know this car is about being good to drive, being entertaining to drive, but also it's got real race-bred heritage in there as well. And that's absolutely right. These cars are developed and designed by the people who work on the Nissan GT-R GT500. Yeah, look at the size of this big old brake caliper. The tyres, the suspension setup, they don't just, you know, it's not just a styling kit, these NISMO cars. These are actually developed in the R&D workshops down the road at NISMO in Yokohama. And yeah, it's the same people who do the race cars, you know, the GT500s, the GT3 car, of course. And there you go. That's what's the heart of the matter. This is a lovely little thing. It's a partly a real engine and partly a plastic cutaway, so you can see what's inside this famous V6 engine. That's a core part of a lot of Nissan products, particularly the one over my shoulder. You'll recognise that if you're watching this, of course. It's the Nissan GT-R NISMO MY 2017, which is a really lovely car. It has all of the features. There's a whole video about that car elsewhere on Nismo TV, so you can find out all about that when it was just launched earlier this year, and we got to play with one at Silverstone, which was quite nice. But as you can see over there, already grabbing some attention is the car that you might think is a little bit of an unusual car for Nismo to work on. It's the Nissan Serena NISMO. Now, why would you take a people carrier and turn it into a NISMO car? Well, because NISMO offers the full package. Because if you've got a family, if you're a family man or a family woman, you don't necessarily have to give up and have a boring car to drive every day. You can still have a NISMO version. You can still have fun, and you can still have sportiness. And you notice it's got that. It's also got those black wing mirrors, which are part of. Oh, I've been given the camera. It's got the black wing mirrors, which you're used to seeing up there. And those, it's got the little red stripe on, and that's maybe a new styling cue coming from Nissan. We're not quite sure for the NISMO range, but certainly they've done it on the Serena. But you can see the double-layered front wing. That's, I'm not sure on the Serena how much additional downforce it'll bring you when you see the aerodynamic profile of the car, but it's a practical car. So you can have practical cars that are sporty and fun, and that's something that only Nissan, I think, is really offering at the moment with this new NISMO range. And this is the Serena Highway Start version. As we'll go and have a closer look at this new model. Currently, I think only available in Japan. Yep, I've been confirmed it's only available in Japan. But this car, of course, isn't just a conventional people carrier with a NISMO update. It's also a hybrid. It's got an electric motor in there, which is also driving the wheels, as well as the conventional motor and the conventional transmission. And that allows the car to not only be fun, sporty, practical, but it's also highly efficient on the road. And it's going to be, we're trying to find out at the moment where else this car may come onto the market. At the moment it's only going to be in Japan, but when we make videos like this, suddenly lots of demand might come up and people might start asking and inquiring about, is the car available in the US, for example? Well, possibly. If there's enough people asking that question, they might well do it. And let's go and have a look at some of the other models. I know some of you are watching this with us. I can't see the questions at the moment. I'm going to come up here. And we're going to go and have a look at the GT-R, because that's what everybody likes to see on Nismo TV. It's the GT-R MY 2017. Oh, I've been given the technology to see the questions now. And there aren't any currently. But if you want to see more of this car, we've got all of the cars around here. I'll let you just have a quick look around the room. Some of the standard non-Nismo models. And tell us what you want to see. This is an interactive Nissan showroom. We want you to tell us what you want to have a look at. I'm just having a look at the GT-R. Is the Nissan GT-R MY 2017 available in the USA? I believe so, yeah. There's not many of them, though, and they may have already all sold out. A 2017 car? I think they did in the UK. They sold out. Nope, they're not sold out. So you can... They're built to order, so you might have to wait a little while, but it's a very special car, of course. And you can, of course, get the GT-R in the States. The Serena behind it, not yet, but let's ask it. So what engine runs in the 2018 GT-R GT3 next year? It's a twin-turbo V6 3.5 litre? 3.8 litre will be in that car. Same as it's the same engine as in the current car, isn't it? Yeah. There's no difference to the GT3 engine for 2018. It is still, you know, the GT3 car is still based on the car you're looking at on the screen at the moment. It's not a new GT3 car. It's just a significant upgrade, if you like. But there's the car. Frankly, there's the car. Yeah, this is a Note NISMO S. Now, there's different specs when you get to a NISMO package. So you'll notice here on the badge, you get a Nissan NISMO. For say in this case, it's a Note NISMO. Then you can get the S, And then finally you get the RS, which is the most performance level. And there was a question there. You'd like to see the brakes on the Note NISMO S. You can do that. We can do that. On the other side, I think. So we request to see the Note. So they've got the different performance levels. So the NISMO, the base NISMO spec, will have all of the usual NISMO refinements, the aerodynamic improvements. It'll have suspension setup, brake setup that's slightly different to the, well, slightly better, more sporty than the standard production car. You know, it's the tyres are sporty tyres rather than what you'd expect to have on an everyday runaround. But then when you get up to the S and the RS, the performance increases. So you might get more engine upgrades, more performance, more power out of, more torque out of the RS versions, which will be significantly more powerful, notably more powerful, somewhat more powerful on the RS than the base model. And we've got a standard Note over there. This is just your base model. Actually, it's a good comparison. So this is the front end of the non-NISMO Note, and you can see it's a nice looking car, but not so much performance as the other one. Now here you see a Nissan X-Trail, and this isn't a Nissan X-Trail, but it's not a NISMO vehicle, so it doesn't have all the things we've just talked about. Look at the wing mirrors. There's your dead giveaway. It's got white wing mirrors. It doesn't have the red or the back with the red stripe. This is a standard Nissan X-Trail, but with essentially a styling upgrade, a NISMO styling upgrade, but it doesn't have all of those NISMO suspension upgrades, braking upgrades. So whilst it does have the NISMO parts on it, it's not a NISMO car, and it's a really subtle but very important difference. If you want to get a real NISMO car, you have to get the proper NISMO S or NISMO RS. And we've got more questions coming in. I still can't see those. Why is the Micra not in the United States? I personally think that's a very good question. I don't think the justification that I've just been given I don't think that's right. No, I disagree. You can buy it in Canada, so go to Canada, is my advice to you. The Canadians have the Micra. They also have the fantastic Micra Cup, and the last time I was in this building, we had one of the Micra Cup cars looking very battered, but very much on display here, and that's a fantastic series, and that will be back for the next 3 years. Yeah, we're going to go around the corner because there are some very special bits from Nissan's history in motor racing dotted about in this facility as we look over there. Actually, I'm going to divert us just to point out something that isn't actually a Nissan here in Nissan HQ, because one of the things people ask about isn't a Nissan GT-R a Nissan Skyline? Well, that used to be the case at one point. The Nissan Skyline was a distinct model from the GT-R. Well, what we're going to come and look at over here is an Infiniti. Infiniti is the premier manufacturer of luxury cars, and you'll notice the name of this Infiniti is Skyline. So the Skyline still exists. You can still buy a Skyline, but it's not a Nissan or a NISMO vehicle. The GT-R is a separate vehicle to the Skyline now, so that's something quite important to remember. But you can still buy a Skyline. And for those who watch SuperGT, you'll notice the FRO, the first response vehicle, is actually a Nissan Skyline. It's a Nissan Skyline now. It was being pointed out to me it was a Fuga. No, it's Nissan Skyline. That's what was written on the that's what's on the badge. So we're going to go and have a look at some of the heritage stuff. They've got a great area here at Yokohama called the Heritage Corridor. There's Ronnie Quintarelli, and it's Tugio Matsuda, and they're talking in Japanese about something. If the GT-R is not a Skyline, why is the code R35? That's a good question. The code follows on. I think it's because it still follows the lineage of the Skyline GT-Rs, you know, the R32, R33, 34. But I think it split away at R34, didn't it? Yeah, the Infiniti doesn't have the R35, R34 lineage. It's a different lineage. And here we go and see some of how we ended up being... Well, it ended up being Nissan from 1935 when the company started with Datsun. DAT was the name of the founders of the company. It was founded by 3 individuals, and that's their surnames: Mr. D, Mr. A, and Mr. T. I can't remember the full names. If you can Google that. And then you'll see the badge evolve between Nissan in 1959 when it first appeared, right through the Datsun brand and other brands, and you can see this evolution of the design. But the Nissan styling cues have really carried through quite consistently. And the badge, when you first get to see the badge, here on 1988, you'll see the badge you essentially recognise as now, and it's really just been refined since. But the font is really, the font used really dates back to the 60s. No Prince logos on this board. No, there's not actually. No. Probably should be, but there's not. Well, there's some Prince stuff around the corner. We're going to go and have a look at it. But if you ever wonder what happens to those old wind tunnel models and show cars when they're from the design studios, well, here they are. We've got this really cool looking car from 1993. This is the Nissan APX, a car that never went into production, but it was a concept, a technology demonstrated shown off at the Tokyo Motor Show in the 90s. 2003 saloon model. It's the Nissan Skyline. There you go. One of the last of the Nissan Skylines. And down this corridor, we've got a woman announcing something. On the wall, you've got great elements of the history of Nissan. You've got a Fair Lady 240Z at pretty much life size there on the wall, which is pretty cool. Kind of want to jump into it, but it's just a wall with a picture on. And models of some of the great cars in the history of Nissan. One of my favourite recent Nissan concepts is the IDX Nissan concept. When I saw that car at the show, I wanted that to go in production. That was basically my dream car. SuperGT cars and great collection of 1/43rd scale models. And just an interesting space there behind the IDX concept. Space for more models to go in future. So it just shows Nissan's always evolving its concept and looking at new ways to enhance its innovation. And you can see here at Nissan's factory that they're really inspiring the young people of today to try and, try and eventually at some point sell them cars or inspire them to come and work here. I've been told this is a very nice office to work in. I'm getting nodded heads from the official people. They're saying yes, it is a very nice place to work in. And they don't just have to say that. They actually are saying it. Here we go. Here's a Prince. We asked about the Prince. Here's the Prince R380, the 1966 Japanese Grand Prix winner. And I think that was the second ever running of the Japanese Grand Prix. Nissan also won the first ever Japanese Grand Prix, and you'll be hearing more about that on Nismo TV in the weeks and months to come, because I think there's something lined up to look at that. The Japanese Grand Prix wasn't always a Formula One race. It used to be a sports car race, and then it was a non-championship Formula One race. And the last Japanese winner of the Japanese Grand Prix was in 1975. And it was either Hasemi or Hoshino-san. So we're going to walk along the corridor a little bit more, because this is more of the production stuff, the crafting tools used to make and style different types of models. So there's handcrafted designs. And this is how Nissan, before really computers started taking everything over, things were handcrafted. But I think Nissan still uses clay model and handcrafting. Yes, it does. So there is still handcrafting in the design of cars. Lovely truck there. Some trams and another truck. And some of Nissan's commercial vehicle history. If you're into commercial vehicles, Nissan's got a great history of that. And then we start moving into the real innovation, exciting innovation. Sort of innovation that would excite, perhaps, someone might say. And here's the Nissan GT-R. This is what it would look like if it were naked. And you can see all of the key components, that famous V6 engine, twin turbo, the cooling system, the exhaust system with the catalyzers on it, the transmission front and rear, the rear suspension. The amount of effort they put into the suspension system of the Nissan GT-R is absolutely gobsmacking. I mean, they're not just sort of doing it all on rigs. They go off to the Nürburgring test tracks. There's a test track near here in Yokohama that they use. The Nissan guys do it. The NISMO guys do it. And it goes on for, I don't know, how long would it take to take one of the R35? How long did that take to put to design from the R34? 5 or 6 years, I'm being told. So I mean, 5 or 6 years just working on those dampers just to get them just right. But this is one of the big things we're looking at. This is a car I've always enjoyed since it was launched. It was the car that essentially redefined electric vehicles for the 21st century. It's the Nissan Leaf. Now, the Nissan Leaf was really the first successful mass-market electric car ever, really. I mean, the Sinclair C5 doesn't really count. And it's the #1 seller in the world, I think, and remains so the #1 seller in the world. And it's now, a few years ago, you wouldn't expect to see an electric car on the road every single day, but now you will see a Nissan Leaf pretty much everywhere in the world on the road every day. And I'll tell you something about the Nissan Leaf. People talk about the Leaf, and because it's the original Mark I Leaf styling it's nice, but it's quite sensible, quite staid, and it's an electric car. You don't think it's sporty. And the Nissan Leaf is an extremely good car to drive. It's got great torque, it's got great performance, and it's a performance car in sheep's clothing, if you like. And here you go, there's some nice trophies over here of the Car of the Year awards for the Nissan Leaf, all of them. And the motor industry recognising the real capability of this car, because it's a performance car, because it is actually very fast if on track. The Nissan Leaf is much faster than you think it should be. But of course Nissan has this other history, which if you're watching this channel, you probably know something or a little bit about. This is the Nissan sports car program from racing, and up here is something you cannot miss out on. It's the trophy from the 1998 Le Mans 24 Hours, when Nissan finished 3rd overall in that race. That was actually a thrilling race that Nissan almost took victory in, but it was that race that just about everything that could happen happened, and it was fantastic. But of course, Nissan has won races internationally. The Petit Le Mans just a few months ago, the Nissan-engined DPI took victory, and of course the famous Group A Nissan Skyline R32. But Nissan's not just racing. My background, for those who don't know, is in rallying before I went into motor racing, and here's victory plates and rally plates from the East African Safari Rally, one of the toughest rally of them all. And Nissan had a great history. Rally Monte Carlo up there as well. That's 1965 Rally Monte Carlo. And here's the winning. There's a plaque for victory. It's not a trophy. I'm not quite sure where the plaque came from. It was a plaque for victory in the 1992 Daytona 24 Hours with Hasimi, Hoshino Suzuki, and Anders Olofsson, the only non-Japanese driver in that car, and a little victory trophy from the Safari Rally in 1969, when the Nissan Bluebird, of all cars, won that event. But we're talking about the electric cars and the technology. We're just seeing a bit more of some of the older cars down there. But the thing about the electric cars that you need to think about is, if you have this great history of performance and racing, and a great history of innovation and technology, there's some cars. There's a Nissan Leaf RC Nismo, is something we've seen on track before and I've driven. You've got to wonder what's coming next. Well, the fact that Nissan is now entering Formula E should give you a direction of perhaps what we might be seeing on the road in the years to come, and I'm quite excited about that. So I want to see I'm waiting for any more questions you've got on there. We've got questions coming in. The R33 gets no love. Well, here's an R32. We don't actually have any pictures of an R33 in here, do we? Not right now, but the R33 definitely does get love. We had some at the NISMO festival yesterday. There was a beautiful example of the R33 GT500 being absolutely ragged around Fuji Speedway. It was fantastic to see. And there's some interest. There's certainly some good cars. We've got a video about the R33 GT500 coming up on Nismo TV in some weeks, or I don't actually know when it's going to come out, but we filmed it, so there is an R33 GT500. So there is R33 love coming, and there's a lot of R32 love, of course. Nismo announcing that they're going to make R32 parts available once again, so you can actually go to Nismo and buy a new R32 part. Is there an R33 in the model collection? There must be. Maybe this lad was pointing to an R33 for it. Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. There's the full set. So you've got the R30. No one talks about the R30. The R30 gets no love. So there's the R30, and that was built into a Group 5 car, which was absolutely mad. What? New R32 parts? Yes, Taido Zaku. There are new from Nismo. In Japan only initially, but you can go and buy yourself new parts for an R32 from Nismo. So they're remanufactured. They haven't used the word remanufactured. There's a re-origin, but they are brand new parts. Yeah, all the tooling is new. Everything is new. They're brand new parts. That I think the Nismo guys didn't quite have the English language. I think they've called it re-origined, but it means they are brand new parts direct from Nismo. And it's called the Heritage Program is the overall brand of it, but these are 32 parts. Now, whilst it's Japan only, it could be widened out. And what I would say to people who aren't in Japan, who are interested in getting some brand new R32 parts, is do try and get in touch on social media at Nismo, or just, because they're available to anybody who just wants to buy them, just have a look online, because sometimes someone starts putting these parts up to available. And if there's enough interest, I think the Nismo guys may widen that program out to the States. So you just show as much interest as possible, because then you might be able to bring it to Europe and the United States as well. So just if you want R32 parts, just start jumping up and down and making noise about it. No B210s on here, or G35s. Oh, we'll have to have you spotted one down there, actually, Gareth? G35 or B210? They are, we're hunting around, yeah. There's a Skyline down there. So there you are. These cars are out there. So you can imagine Nissan has a huge collection of cars, and it's not physically possible to put them all out there. So we've got the toy cars on here. It's great that we're watching this that people are more commenting about the collection of toy cars. Wouldn't it be great if Nissan had a giant room full of all the real things? I'd love to make a video about that. Do you think we should do that? Yeah. If only that existed. Funny that. So yeah, oh yes, there's some nice stuff outside. Yeah, it's been pointed out. We're going to go outside. And out of the heritage corridor, out of the past, into the present, and then on, perhaps, somewhat into the future. And we've been pointing to something that may be the future. Oh, what am I looking up at? Here you go. Here is the future. I did mention that. Here is the future behind me. Nissan Intelligent Mobility. Now that's the brand for the new efficient cars, but efficiency, now if you watch Formula 1 or the Le Mans 24 Hours, you'll hear me talk in commentary a lot about efficiency. Efficiency doesn't just mean driving slowly and saving fuel and all of those sort of things. Efficient is powerful and fast and great torque. Efficiency is a good thing. Well, this is what's at the heart of the efficiency. Orange cables with lights in them, of course, that's very important to efficiency, but it's actually here where you see the major components of what makes up a highly efficient, high-performing car. You might say, hybrids, they're not pure cars, they're not as exciting as the old sort of pure power cars. But when you start looking at the torque figures that something like this electric motor can kick out, you'll out-accelerate pretty much anything there. You know, these are highly efficient, highly performance models, and I think when Nismo get their hands into this Nissan Intelligent Mobility, you're going to see some great stuff. Now it's been pointed out, there's diagrams on the wall. They're in Japanese, but I'll try and explain what they say. And here we go with the Nissan Intelligent Mobility range, and of course in the centre of that is the new Nissan Leaf, which has got some really clever battery technology which makes it go further. Of course, the way batteries work, if it goes further, if once Nismo have got it, it means it's going to go faster as well, so that's a really important thing. But it also has some other features, because in Nissan Intelligent Mobility, it's not just about the engines and the power unit, it's about actually driving the car, the driving experience. You can the car parks itself, which if you drive like me is a really helpful thing in the Waitrose car park. You know, Waitrose and Hitchin is sometimes difficult to park in, and ProPilot Park there will do that job for you. Is it going to be called ProPilot Park outside of Japan? Yep, globally, that's the global name. Some of this stuff's so new, I'm not actually familiar with it. And then you've got a lot of this safety technology, so the car is actually, while you're driving along, the car is watching the road in front of you, making sure that you're not going to get into any trouble, and if someone in front of you makes an unexpected manoeuvre or suddenly slams on the brakes because something ran out in front of them, or they realise they'd left their keys on the roof of the car or whatever, the car will save you in that situation, or try to save you, help certainly assist you in that scenario. And here's you go. Here you can see it makes sure you drive, and we've been experimenting with this a little bit driving over here to Yokohama. The car will make sure you don't fall asleep at the wheel, or try to make sure you don't fall asleep at the wheel, and it's generally helpful. And here is the new Leaf. Now, whilst it hasn't been announced as a production model, it might be, but we don't know, we haven't been told. The Nissan Leaf, the brand new Nissan Leaf, there is a NISMO specification concept version of that car, which is I've seen photos of, so I'm not actually sure if it's been unveiled. I think it was unveiled a few weeks ago at one of the motor shows. But there may well be a Nissan Leaf NISMO on its way, but all Nissan are telling us at the moment is it's just a concept for a motor show. But with the Nissan Intelligent Mobility, the history of Nissan, it's going to be very clear to see what's going on. So it's really nice to show you guys what's happened. We're going to take a quick look outside, and it's been really great to have you along. Any quick questions now as we're walking out the exit? There's one straight up. No, that's not a question, that's just a statement. I like that colour. That's a really cool looking, that's a good colour. That's a good, I quite, kind of electric blue. It's quite good. So just outside, and I was hoping we'd show you the Nissan GT-R sitting outside the corporate HQ here. There's our Serena. We're not going to be able to do that. There's some little Nissan runabouts. Yeah, that's a very good point. The wireless charging pads, so they come in and no wires have to plug in. The car just charges itself sitting there. if you come to the Nissan factory here at Yokohama, and you've got the correct permits and paperwork, which is, I think you can get fairly easily, you can actually come along and drive any of these cars free of charge. Yeah, you can come and have a free of charge test drive. Now, when we arrived here, there was a pair of brand new Leafs sitting outside, one of which is still here, but there was also GT-R. So you can come to Nissan's HQ in Yokohama, and if you've got the right paperwork, you can come and drive a Nissan GT-R. Isn't that fantastic? Oh well, that's it from us here at Yokohama. We're going to bring you loads more videos here on NISMO TV, so don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and give us all of your comments on social media at NISMO.